session, I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to everyone gathered here this evening. The event this evening is to launch the Fiji Legal Aid Commission's Case and Client Management System.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to acknowledge the Honourable Minister for Women, Children and Poverty Alleviation who's here with us, the two Assistant Ministers of Employment, Youth and also Rural Maritime Development, Your Excellency, the European Union and European Delegation, our friend Lavan, the Director of Legal Aid, members of the Judiciary, the Board of Legal Aid Commission, and all the other different representatives from different organizations, and of course the staff of Legal Aid Commission. You know, when they say wise people have spoken before, you don't have to say much. And in this case, obviously the three wise people on the stage have said quite a lot, and all very relevant, given you relevant information. Our objective as a government, way back even before the formulation of the Fijian Constitution, was to, we had a couple of objectives. One of them was to ensure that we demystified the law, and the other one was to give people accessibility to the law. Many people in Fiji for a number of decades spoke about rule of law, but they did not really understand the crux and the practical implication of what rule of law meant. In a very basic term, rule of law means that the law applies equally to everybody, or is for everybody. And when that law is actually applied, it is applied equally. It is in the application of that law where we find a lot of fundamental issues. It's okay to say to people that, look, this law is for you too, but if you aren't able to afford access to that, if you do not have the know-how, if you do not know where to get the information from, you'll be extremely disadvantaged. In fact, you'll be pushed to the periphery. And that's one of the key issues we found within Fijian society post-2007. So we've started on a number of projects, as highlighted by the Director of Legal Aid. The Legal Aid Office used to sit in the top floor of this minaret-shaped, the dome at government buildings. Right on the top floor, you have to go up through the staircase, and eventually you found this office where it was stacked with files, and they had that office in Suva, and they had a token office in Lambasa and a token office in Lautoka. Since then, of course, the Legal Aid Commission has grown exponentially. Today, it's a key component of the Fijian Constitution. Under Section 114, there's a provision that there must be a Legal Aid Commission. The Legal Aid Commission is under the independent bodies in the budget, where it has one line, essentially, one line that's allocated as funding, and it's up to them as to how they spend it. They, of course, make representations in the budget, but we don't monitor that. As an independent office, as the FICAC is here, as the judiciary is here, they get one-line budget items. Before, this has never happened in Fiji. Every time they spend money, they had to get permission, they had to submit RIEs, they did not have their own procurement processes, they did not have their own selection processes of staff, etc. They now run completely independently. And this is probably one of the reasons why the Legal Aid Commission now is run in the manner in which it is, and indeed has won various international accolades. The other wider aspect, of course, of justice is to be able to know what the law is. We partnered with, of course, Nexus, where now the Fijian laws, all Fijian laws are available online. Anybody can go online and access the law. You want to look at the Dog Act, Section 4, you got it. You look at the Domestic Violence Act law, you can look at it. So the law in that way is mystified. The law in that way, demystified, I should say. The law in that way is made accessible to people to read. Of course, the Legal Aid Commission has now, provided a number of incentives. People, for example, as we know, most victims of domestic violence in Fiji are women or children. They don't actually have now, they don't have to meet the income criteria. If somebody comes along to legal aid now, they will be able to assist them. Domestic violence cases, children's cases. All those aspects are provided. The legal aid, in fact, also writes wills for people. It helps in probate. That's, provides security for people. It helps in the resolution of disputes. In fact, it stops disputes arising in the first place, as we've seen. Irrespective of whether a person has $15,000 in the bank account or $1.5 million in the bank account, they all need to make a will. It stops, therefore, the pressure on the public trustee corporation. So a number of this sort of holistic approach to society has been undertaken over the past decade or so. And of course, legal aid has been a pillar within that entire movement of providing access to justice to people. I think the other issue that was highlighted by our earlier speakers is that the use of technology obviously is critically important. Now that the Legal Aid Commission has got more than 120 lawyers, it's got over 20 outlets throughout Fiji, in the far-flung places of Fiji, in the islands, in the interior of Viti Levu, in the shorelines of Vanua Levu, etc. Of course, for them to go digital makes sense. But access to technology is also very important because you need to be connected. There's no point in them having a digital platform if the office in Nambuwala does not have connectivity to Vodafone, or mobile phone connectivity, or broadband connectivity. So this is why government has got a project. For example, we have in the north, we have a Connect the Unconnected. We're working together with the World Bank. And we hope in the next few weeks, there'll be over 40 different sites in Vanua Levu that actually will have internet access. We'll have Wi-Fi access for the community. So when we talk about justice, when we talk about accessibility, it's not only, for example, about having this platform. We have to look at other aspects. There's no point, for example, getting people to have connectivity or Wi-Fi capacity if they don't have electricity, where they cannot use their PCs or charge their phones. So you have to build an entire ecosystem around it. And that, of course, requires specific targeted funding. And in this case, obviously, the European Union, together with UNDP, has provided that capacity to legal aid. We'd like to thank them very much for that. Of course, the EU is working together with UNDP, with the judiciary also. I remember the days in the judiciary where there were a lot of bureaucracy. There still is, one may argue. A lot of that is being cleared up. There were, for example, people who worked in the judiciary before, the staff, were appointed by the Public Service Commission. So you could have people who used to work in Ministry of Cooperatives one day being transferred to the registry in a court the following day. Those things don't happen anymore. And those civil service reforms obviously is critically important too. So the point I'm trying to make, ladies and gentlemen, is that in providing access to justice, in providing, giving people information, we have to take a holistic approach. And we have different partners we work with, and we need to, for example, it's like, filling a mosaic. And that is obviously all coming together. And we'd like to thank as I said, the European Union, UNDP. I'd also like to thank the Board of Legal Aid Commission. The acting chair is here. We'd also like to thank Shaheen Ali, the director, who's actually provided that leadership that's very critically required in a growing organization. It has grown exponentially in a very short period of time. You need decisive leadership, you need very transparent leadership, and he's done that. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank all those lawyers who work for Legal Aid Commission. You're over 100 lawyers, 120 lawyers. It's the largest law firm in Fiji, as we say. They also have, equally the same number or thereabouts of support staff, and they're also critically important. Before I came here 2 hours ago, I received a text message from somebody who complained to me about the person at the BDM office in Nandi being extremely rude to them, complaining about the service being provided by the Birth, Deaths and Registry Marriage, the Birth, Deaths and Marriage Registry. So it's a high level of people contact. And similarly, of course, the Legal Aid Commission would have a high level of people contact. So it is not very easy in particular to deal with staff, or staff to deal with members of the public, in particular when they're very aggrieved, or they may in fact be very confused about what their rights are, what they can do. So it does require a particular level of training, a particular level of acumen, a particular level of interpersonal skills, communication skills that they require. And I'd like to acknowledge that because it's not very easy. I mean, we do receive phone calls sometimes where people are very aggrieved. We have a lot of land issues, for example, where tenants are being, booted out of the land, or landlords doing that, or they have some lease that has expired. There's a lot of sort of issues pertaining to land too, and the Legal Aid Commission, we had asked them a couple of years ago to deal with that. Banua Levu particularly has a number of those types of issues. So there are specific areas of Fiji that require different skill sets, and the Legal Aid Commission, we can see, has obviously developed the skill sets. Last but not least, I'd like to thank the judiciary too, because the judiciary has been working very closely with the Legal Aid Commission. The Legal Aid Commission does provide a lot of information to the judiciary, and of course vice versa. Under the Constitution, the Legal Aid Commission can also provide advice to the Attorney General's office in respect of, for example, areas of law that they think that should be changed, and we actually value that input. And equally, we are working together with them to ensure that we have that level of accessibility of justice to ordinary Fijians. We'd like to thank everybody who contributed to this, in particular the IT company. I'd like to thank them for developing a particular software that's specified or tweaked to the Fijian needs. So ladies and gentlemen, it's now my pleasure to, and I've been told to say that I'm going to now officially launch the Fiji Legal Aid Commission Case and Client Management System. Thank you. Naka.